So the issue of Kalenjins in the education system as administrators need to be talked about. Kalenjins have failed as administrators. A lot of them are in the education ministry. The head of the education ministry, the CS, is a Kalenjin, and they are failures. And there's a very big difference between teachers and administrators. The administrators, these are the headmistresses, the headmasters. When you go to the Ministry of Education, these are people who are dealing with the curriculum and the people who are dealing with basically the education setup. Majority of them are Kalenjins, and people need to address this. Kenyans need to address this for what it is. They are failed. They even collapsed. Kalenjin politicians at one point were fighting with the VC, our incoming vice chancellor of Eldoret University, Moi University Eldoret. So there is a cultural aspect to this crisis in the Kenya education system, and the Kalenjins are collapsing the Kenya education system. And people need to understand this about the Kalenjins. The Kalenjins, of course, they supported Moi and they support dictatorship. And generally, the mindset of dictatorship does not promote, does not support, does not encourage an education system that will create critical thinkers, citizens who are critical thinkers. They want an education system that will create citizens who are obedient, not critical thinkers. So it is in their best interest that the part that creates critical thinking in schools is basically completely suppressed. So what I'm saying basically is the whole Ministry of Education needs an overhaul. All the Kalenjin administrators, they need to go. They are failed. They are failed. The writing is not just in the wall. They have been failed for a long time. And Ruto must go also. He's a Kalenjin also. He must go because he's a failure. He's a failed leader. And he has put people in the Ministry of Education who are collapsing the education system. And then there is the issue of, I was listening to a video where Matiang'i was saying that he's willing to work with Ruto to fix the education mess, the Ruto's government to fix the education mess. And what that means is Matiang'i is not understanding what the problem is. He doesn't get it. He doesn't get it. You have structural issues because there is a collapse there. There is a collapse. There's a collapse in leadership. There's a collapse in the education system in Kenya. He's not understanding what the problem is. Those administrators in the Kenya education ministry, they need to go. And a lot of them are Kalenjins. So this is institutionalized incompetence. There's a very large part of it is the leadership is has failed. Institutionalized incompetence, and this starts from William Ruto, who appointed as CS, who is Kalenjin, and then you go Kalenjin, and you can look at the history of the Ministry of Education. A lot of Kalenjins, PSs, CSs, and they are failed. And part of it is the when you look at the issue of Kenya education crisis, the Kalenjins is a problem. The Kalenjin leadership, they have failed, and they are a very big part of the problem. So they need Fagia Wote. Our Wote, they need to go. And I know my post is mostly political, and it's going to be taken as tribalism. It's absolutely tribalism, and it's tribalism that has failed the education system. So that is one of the major issues that need to be addressed, because these Kalenjins are putting people who don't know what they're doing in the education system. That's what they're doing. So you have all these Kalenjins who are working in the Ministry of Education who don't know what they're doing. So you can talk about implementation and all these other things that people are talking about, but the reality is starting from William Ruto to the CS, to the PSs, to all these people in the education system, you have Kalenjins there who don't know basically what they're doing. Or maybe they know what they're doing, but based on their ideology, what is happening is basically going towards what they believe when it comes to education, which is education is supposed to train people to be workers or maybe to own businesses, but it's not supposed to also train people to empower other communities. Because once other communities are empowered, other tribes are empowered, of course they're going to challenge the status quo. Of course they're going to challenge the dominance that the Kalenjins have basically installed in the government of Kenya. So they do not want that. They do not want to lose power and control that they have. And part of it, that mentality is leading to the collapsing of the Kenya education system. So people need to understand this. People need to understand Kalenjins in general did support Daniel Toroitich arap Moi 100%. And even so, that mentality is still 100% there, that they want to control everybody. So they are not going to allow an education system that empowers other communities. And that's what they are seeing. They are seeing an education system that is empowering people from the smaller communities, and they don't like it. And that's why even the limitation of funding, they don't send the funding to other schools in other regions of the country. They don't also give enough teachers to most of the schools in the coast, in the northern area. A lot of places in Kenya, they don't have enough teachers because of this particular reason, that they don't want those communities to be empowered. And the reality is those communities need doctors who will take care of people in those communities, teachers who will teach in some of those regions. Because this idea of people coming from Nairobi or other parts of the country to go and teach Northeastern where they're getting attacked, that needs to end. The northern region, the northeastern region over there, they need to train their own children, get their own people to be trained as teachers to go and teach in those regions. People who are local from those regions need to teach in those regions. That's the reality of some of that. And when it comes to one of the issues of the 844 system was NEC, Kenya National Examination Council. The problem was cheating. It appeared that some ed teachers and some teachers knew how to get access. They were being able to pay to get access to the exam material. As such, the students from those schools were able to get, of course, an upper hand when it comes to exams. And this became a problem because now people were shoving all this money, and there was a lot of exam leakages. So this issue needed to be addressed at the NEC organization. And it wasn't like an issue that needed a complete overhaul of the education system. So that was one of the issues. The other issue was the issue of employment. You cannot solve employment with the education system. The education system has to do with training. And that's a different issue. And this is more college, university that was supposed to address this particular issue of training the workforce to be able to produce workers who are able to do the job, and also critical thinkers, of course, people who are able to start their own businesses and able to contribute to the society. So this was more of a college university issue. They were supposed to solve that problem, the college professors. Then there was the issue of... Thank you for listening. I'll see you in the next one.